treacherous in our life. As a devotee of Krishna, because it is stopping our rebirth in this material world. And but how this work? Because bhakti is another meaning. The bhakti means love for Krishna, and this is another word for bhakti. And love is the language that Krishna understands. So Krishna is very simple, detached person, but he's so simple that we miss it. Like if he comes in front of us, we miss it. So because we are complicated, and this material world is made us so complicated that we lost our innocence. You know? There is a quotation from Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj that we have to be like childlike innocent to approach Krishna. So because this material world tear us apart and destroy our innocence because of the onslaughts of material nature. And that's why we have to take these decisions to protect our innocence. So, and what is favorable to our bhakti and what is not favorable to our bhakti. So we have to make decisions at every step in our lives. So we can decide to come to these programs every Sunday, or we can decide to go to cinema instead. Or we can decide to study Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, or we can decide to study some mundane literature. So every time we have to make decisions, that's why the bhakti is said to be here as a decision-making process. So, but yes, it is very easy to make right decision when we are in association with like-minded devotees. So that's why it says, yes, association is very, very important. The association helps us to make right decisions, which are favorable to bhakti. So another point on this is that to become innocent, that you require philosophical depth, because you cannot take practical knowledge or cannot receive practical knowledge if you do not digest the knowledge. And getting the knowledge is not just enough. So we can get knowledge in studying books and scriptures, but what is the practical implementation? And that is required. So for the practical knowledge, we depend on someone else. Therefore, the chance of getting cheated is very high, because when we depend on, in material world, depending on somebody is the worst situation. But in spirituality, we always depend on Krishna. So, so the chances are very high that we will get cheated if we depend on somebody else. So actually, we need to study and meditate on scriptures ourselves, because we study, recite, remember, meditate, and implement the knowledge from scriptures under the bona fide guidance, of course, in the association of like-minded devotees, not our own whims and fancies, because that also bewilder us if we don't come under bona fide shelter and do our own things. So there is a difference between independence and independent intelligence. So that's what we discussed, that we have to be independently thoughtful. So being independent is illusion, because we cannot be independent in this world, because we are forced by material nature. We're forced to become old, we're forced to become diseased, birth and death. So we're not independent. But when we think that we are independent, that is illusion. So, and on top of that, we have 4 defects. We got propensities to cheat, we illusioned by Maya, we're sure to commit mistakes, and our senses are imperfect. So, but what is independently intelligence or thinking or thoughtful? That when we voluntarily dependent, on a bona fide source using our intelligence. So we do not, then we do not get cheated, because this is this independent intelligence, or this independently thoughtful is required nowadays, because we cannot trust anybody, and because so many instances happening, and we and as the cheating propensity is in everyone, so it is very hard to find a person who is above this. So because yeah, so we require this knowledge to, when we require a person who digested this knowledge, who implemented this in his life, then we won't be get cheated. So in spiritual activities, as uh, Prabhuji said in the class, that in spiritual activities you cannot cheat someone and go back to Godhead. That's not possible. So so we have to honest to ourselves and honest in our spiritual activities, because it is very simple, and because bhakti is simple, but we have to take some responsibility to make it simple. And this means that we have to choose not to become sheeps and follow the uh, flow, or what I say is that going with the flow, because cheaters are everywhere nowadays. So we need to equip ourselves with the knowledge and digest it and choose the right person or right source where we can get the uncontaminated knowledge. And the second point that I realized that is in this chapter, that the yoga system that doesn't have to be manufactured. So that is the beginning of the chapter. Srila Prabhupada explaining that because nowadays everyone wants to invent their own system, you know. So and it is very difficult to understand that because they invent new yoga system, new Western yoga now, and the new way of doing meditation, you know, pseudo new age religions, or so many things happening, you know. So, and these all bogus, because they ultimately cheating people. So on the name of dharma or religion, you know, because the real religion is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, that dharmastu sakshat bhagavat paritam. You know, it comes from God himself. You can't manufacture it. So all other religions say that you do not worship our God, then you will go to hell or burn in the hell forever. But but in Sanatan Dharma, it is said that if you do sinful activities, you will take birth according to the sinful activities out of 8.4 million species, whatever you done. But and this is not just a manufacture or concocted by people. This is real knowledge. So and the real knowledge doesn't change. I mean, see, it comes through parampara. That's why we have to follow the parampara to get uncontaminated knowledge, and then it becomes our responsibility to pass it on without any contaminations. Although this age of Kali is very fallen, and but there is like a golden period in this age that also discussed in last class. That golden period where Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inaugurated this Sankirtana movement, and to save all the fallen souls. So this because this is golden period of Kali Yuga now, and this is high time. So we should take up this Krishna conscious movement and get and take the advantage of it to get us purified and be a part of this golden age. So, and there is a reference given in the purport about from Bhagavad Gita chapter 9 verse 14, where the characteristics of pure devotee is given. There are 4 points where we discussed that. The number one is that always chanting my glories, Lord is saying, and endeavoring with great determination, and bowing down before me. And number 4, perpetually worship me. So these are the 4 characteristics of a devotee, of a pure devotee. And this is what we need to do. And this is our goal, that alongside with our jobs and our engagements and our activities, we need to follow this. We need to achieve this. Otherwise, everything becomes zero. Srila Prabhupada always give this example that all big material advancements, they all zeros unless the one is in front, and that one is Krishna. If Krishna is not in front, everything is zero. So that's what has happened to us. Yes, we have to take care of our family. We have to maintain ourselves, but that doesn't give us love of Godhead. Love of Godhead is something different. So we have to do that also. Just taking care of our family, taking care of ourselves is not enough. So we have to cultivate this love, which is the highest achievement. So actually, we do not have to become very well versed in Vedas, as Prabhuji also explained, that we don't have to be big pandits or read all the Vedas and become very well versed in scriptures. No, only the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, or Srila Prabhupada books are enough to purify us. And because with our tiny brain, we cannot understand Krishna, because we with our endeavor, we cannot catch Krishna. This is Damodar months, and in Damodar months we have this Damodar Leela, that every time the 2 inches short, the rope, so we cannot catch Krishna. Is when Krishna is satisfied, he will reveal in our heart. So it's the causeless mercy of Krishna that he will reveal when he satisfied from our activities. So that's why we don't have to be like acquire heaps and heaps of Vedic knowledge, or study heaps and heaps of Vedas and other books. So revealed scriptures are enough to to cultivate bhakti in us. So yes, Prabhuji, these few points that I realized from last couple of classes on this chapter. This is a really nice chapter, the Bhakti Yoga, the spiritual yoga from Lord Kapila's teaching, chapter 8. Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. It's very nice. You made a lot of very nice points. There's one point specifically that that you touched on, especially it's particularly the cheating propensity that you were talking about, and it was a very, very important point. And also here Prabhupada writes, in fact, in the purport of the chapter, you probably know this as well, where he refers to the verse by Lord Kapila, Tamamam Tepravakshami Yam Avocham Puranage. So Prabhupada says that that word Puranage means without sin. So one cannot understand Krishna consciousness until one is freed from sin, right? And as you also touched on, everyone has these 4 defects: the propensity to cheat, and we have to be independently thoughtful and independently intelligent. So if we do not be independently thoughtful, then we also have that propensity to cheat, but we also then incur these sins, and makes our Krishna consciousness life much harder. So having that independent thoughtfulness, doing our due diligence, doing reading, following Srila Prabhupada's books, following the acharyas, is very, very important. And I like a lot of the points that you mentioned, Prabhuji. This was one point that I liked as well. So thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. There are a few people that aren't here today because they're also traveling. But thank you, Sanjay Prabhu, as always, for kicking us off. And anyone else that would like to share the realization, please feel free to jump on. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Apologies, I'm currently at the hospital, so I cannot put my camera on. But I have prepared my realization on chapter Bhakti Yoga. So thank you, first of all, for giving me this opportunity to give realization and listen the realizations of devotees. So, the first thing as in last lectures, Ambedkar said that bhakti is making decisions. Yes, it is love for Krishna, but it is more of making decisions, the right decisions. And we can cultivate bhakti yoga only when we have that innocence, the childlike innocence. And that is cultivated by uh, applying knowledge, by surrendering towards Krishna. And also this one point where Prabhuji said, Amish Prabhu said that we are in the process, like we haven't surrendered to Krishna yet, but we are under the process of surrender to Krishna. That doesn't involve we should be having initiation or something. It's as simple as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada said. We should follow the regulative principle. We should chant every day. That's how we cultivate that bhakti yoga. We follow devotees, pure devotees. And that's what power of bhakti yoga is. Prabhuji also said that the, the pure devotees, even they purify Mother Ganga and they bath in the river Ganga. So that's how powerful devotees are. That's how powerful scriptures are. That's how powerful love towards Krishna is. So we should always strive to serve Krishna. We should always be surrendered towards devotees, pure devotees. Also about the knowledge is that what we apply. So when we learn something from class and we learn something from Prabhupada's book, we should always apply it in real life. Maybe we will not fully be able to do that, but we should at least try. So that's how I think I want myself to do. What I want to do is cultivate more love towards Krishna by chanting more, by chanting good, not just mechanically chanting, and following what Prabhupada says, following what I learn in these classes. So this is what for me Bhakti Yoga was. Thank you. I hope I said, but I was not very well prepared. Sorry for if I said anything wrong. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your very nice realization, Prabhuji. That was very nice. I like the one point that you mentioned where you said that you require childlike innocence to progress in Krishna consciousness, and so you cultivate bhakti yoga. That was a nice point. That's very true. So thank you, Prabhuji, for your nice realization. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, from Prabhuji.
Just a second. Yeah. Thank you for giving this chance, Prabhu. Thank you for taking the class, even when Amrish Prabhu is not here, and for letting us share our realization. So I went through. I was not able to attend last class, but I just went through the YouTube video and made some notes. So I'll just share them. Short notes I've prepared. So yeah. So one important point that I thought, apart from what Sanjeev Prabhu has already covered, I think some of my points Om Prabhu also covered. But yeah. So one thing is about innocence and bhakti, which Ambarish Prabhu and you just mentioned that it's very essential, right? Krishna is very innocent. Prabhuji said that Krishna is very innocent and with us always, all the time, all species of life, right? He's just with us. And then he said that if Krishna was not innocent, why would he do that? Like, why would he be with us all the time? He would just said, "Why should I be with you?" Right? So, and then Prabhuji said that if Krishna is so innocent, how can you deal with a person who's innocent in a corrupt manner? You cannot deal with an innocent person in a corrupt manner, right? So first we need to rectify our corruptness before we deal with Krishna. Then one point about this translation, O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So, describing the beings of Kali Yuga. And then Prabhuji mentioned about this point that, when a person can stick to Krishna consciousness only when one is completely free from all sinful reactions, right? Then only he can stick to Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it's a very fleeting thing. You can come and go, come and go, come and go. And then uh, obviously you cannot be completely free from all the reactions overnight, right? So, but you can at least take the decision to surrender or simply surrender to Krishna. That you can take. That's in our control. Surrendering to Krishna. So immediate surrender onto Krishna is very important. And once we surrender onto Krishna, spiritual life basically begins. That's the moment our spiritual life begins. And then one very interesting point, well, this is one of the slok of Bhagavad Gita, but the characteristics of devotees. So Prabhuji mentioned that always chants the glories of the Lord, endeavoring in with great determination, and then bowing down before Krishna, and then uh, and then worshipping him with devotion, right? Perpetually worshipping him with devotion. So these are the characteristics of devotees, apart from many other characteristics, but four that were highlighted. And I'm trying to implement these four characteristics in my day-to-day life, uh, so that I can also become devotee. I think these are all the points that I've covered. Just checking. Yeah, I think probably, yeah, that's it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Patabu, for your nice realizations. Yeah, very true. About the innocence and bhakti, and also that your Krishna consciousness begins, with your surrender. And I think even in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Krishna came himself as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right, to teach us the way of Sankirtan. So we don't need to manufacture anything. Um, and even Sanjeev Prabhu said in his realization that presently it's very, very common now for people to invent their own pseudo religions. But the beauty of Bhakti Yoga and the beauty of the disciplic succession and the work that Srila Prabhupada has done, that Srila Prabhupada has digested everything and given it to us in a very succinct and beautiful manner. And so it's just the process of satisfying the Lord or surrendering to Lord Krishna is there in front of us. And it's up to myself, and it's up to everyone to to go forth in the process of Bhakti Yoga. So yeah, some nice points there, Puraji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, Krishna Prabhu. You are filling the big boots of Amrish Prabhu. Huh? Good to see you. Good to see you. That, yeah. And yeah, thank you to Amrish Prabhu, Purnapanya Devidasiti, and the little now the big one, Krishna Samar Krishna Prabhu, for holding the flag of Mahara Vishnu Goswami Maharaj and continuing these programs and training us how to remain disciplined. I remember if not everybody is turning on a camera, Amrish Prabhu gets upset. Okay, and now we miss Amrish Prabhu. Okay, everybody is not in a hospital. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe in a different kind of hospital. Okay, that's up to them. So, Om Prabhu, you are in the hospital or what happened? Who is in the hospital? Are you listening?
Yes, Prabhuji, actually, my brother is admitted in hospital, so I'm responsible.
Typhoid?
Yes, typhoid.
Oh man, that's serious. Okay. So I'm probably the most distracted student in Amrish Prabhu's class because I think that I know it all. Okay. I've been hearing this for a long time, so I think I know it all. So that's me, that's my ego, the big one. The point I remember Amrish Prabhu was talking about the innocence, and almost everybody raised this innocence. And innocence, even Amrish Prabhu said, even he's trying to figure it out. That what is innocence? Because you have one side we talk about cheating propensity, one side we talk about how to protect when anybody is out there to cheat you, and then you cannot be innocent. So this innocent and then fighting propensity, how they go together, I don't know. So when I was meditating on this point, I looked at Srila Prabhupada. Because that's what I do. When you get confused, you look at these great personalities. That what they were doing as an innocent, pure devotee of Krishna. And that's where you start getting inspiration. That's where you start, and you start getting answers to the question. I'm still trying to figure it out, but Srila Prabhupada. And even Srila Prabhupada giving his entire life to Krishna consciousness for people like me and so many of them, he has been poisoned towards the end of his life. That's so sad part of it. So and same thing happened with other pure devotees when people actually try to harm them because nobody, I don't know what was the agenda, but most of the time it is ego or some other agenda which people carry. So that's not my relation, but innocence is probably we look towards Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, we look towards Srila Prabhupada and their behavior, and that's how we start getting tinge of innocence. Being clever, being smart, I don't know. I don't know. It's innocence, that's where I look at. Krishna is beyond us. So that's why we follow this parampara system so that we can see that how these concepts have been implemented. Okay, so that's what I wanted to start with. And so today, good thing is that there are not many speakers, so I can speak as much as I want to. Correct, Krishna Prabhu? Is that okay? Yeah. Because they're not, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people wrote they're not free, they're this and they're traveling. So okay, I'll speak. I take it over.
Please, Roji, please.
And this is one of the favorite topics which when I come across Krishna Consciousness, Canto 3, when I've heard Amrish Prabhu talking very serious matter on this chapter. I don't know how he picked up this book, but he used to say that this is books for serious devotees who are seriously getting into this. Even in this, he skips lots of points when he's talking about this. I've seen this, I've noticed this. So for us to get most of the Amrish Prabhu, we have to surrender. That's my feeling. You cannot get anything from Amrish Prabhu for free. Correct, Krishna Prabhu? Yeah, okay. So now this chapter 7, which is talking about Lord Kapila begins with explains self-realization. Self-realization is the crux of our life. We got this life so that we can realize who we are. And that's what Amrish Prabhu and this class are happening and the preaching act happening so that we can realize who we are, how we behave, how we do things, how we interact with material worlds, how we face problems, how we continue chanting, because we all face challenges, we all face problems. It's not easy. Bhakti is not for faint-hearted. Bhakti is not for faint-hearted. And I feel that as you progress, this becomes even harder because Krishna is not cheap. Maya Devi is going to hold your hand and pull us down so that you cannot go there. So self-realization is the crux of it, and that's where probably the first book Prabhupada wrote. That I may be wrong, is Science of Self-Realization. And he wanted people to realize that this is a science. This is not somebody has some not a philosophical knowledge. It's a science. Means you follow the process, you get the result. It's logical. And that's what Lord Kapila is doing. That he's giving logical answer. That's the science was studying. That's what he's talking about. So Science of Self-Realization, and even that book, if you open that book, Prabhupada start with first chapter is learning the science of the soul. Learning the science of soul, which is again very hard topic. Because even in Bhagavad Gita, as soon as Arjuna says that I surrender to you, you are my guru, and then he start with science of soul. That soul, how do the soul function, who we are, and why you get upset, and why Shokakul, and all those things. So science of soul is the key thing. And the second is, I don't know how, but this is not a coincidence, it's arrangement, choosing a spiritual master. I think that is the hardest topic, or the most difficult situation we are getting into. Because Sanjeev Prabhu touched on this point very briefly, that finding a guru is the most difficult thing that's going to happen in Kali. And then how to do it and how to actually progress on Krishna consciousness without having a guru is impossible. You cannot, otherwise everybody will have become pure devotee, by not talking to anyone. So that's the second chapter which Prabhupada writes very importantly, that choosing a spiritual master. That's Science of Self-Realization. With Science of Self-Realization, we think that is a very basic book and I know it all. That's me. Okay. So now coming back to this, again, I keep talking about Science of Self-Realization. That's my personal realization, because realizing ourselves is the thing. And that's why we are doing preaching. That's why we're following a process. That's why we are doing a lot of things so that we can realize who we are. And we all do things. We all do mistakes. And I think I do the most mistakes. Now this is a Kartik month also. So I was having parents class just before this class. I said, no, let me go. I have to go there. Okay. So, and in that we are trying to recite that prayer. And I was telling that you have to do deep dan and all those things. And believe me, I'm not going to tell who is doing, who is not doing. But I told them that we are having a self-realization class in next class. We should also have a self-realization class so that I know that how much you are understanding. Otherwise, I'm wasting my time. And why should I waste my time? So most of the time, people miss this point, that why this class of Science of self-realization. And Amrish was very particular about these classes. I was talking about what did you understand, what did you implement it, how do you implement. Yeah. And a lot of people has left us because we are having these classes. They find this is very tough. That talking about realization is tough. I don't know how that works, but yeah. So that's okay. That's good on them. They might have find something great, and that's very good on them. So here in this, when that first verse which comes in chapter 7, where this topic of we start talking, the verse is like this: Maitreya Uvacha. Iti somatu nirvadyam ipsitam nishyam pumsam apavarga vardhanam धियाभिनाध्यात्मवतां satam gatir babhas ishat smita shobhitanah. Translated by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. After hearing of his mother's uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization, the Lord thanked her within himself for her question, and thus, his face smiling, he explained the path of transcendentalists who are interested in self-realization. And I remember Mauricio spoke a lot on this point, asking, do you understand? Did you understand? Did you understand this? And I would like to bring those points again so that it becomes fresh. I tend to forget. So after hearing of his mother's uncontaminated desire, means selflessly. It's not about me. It has nothing, yes, uncontaminated. There's no contamination. It's pure. Desire can be pure. Because in the purports, Prabhupada writes that because of this material world, because of situation, she says that because of this, I've been hankering, I've been very painful situation. So I want to know what is this happening. And after this, Lord thanked her within himself for her questions. And that's what we also try to practice. That's why I like these classes. We try to follow all those things which has been mentioned in our scriptures, whatever way we can. Thanking the Lord, thanking the mother. Lord is thanking mother. And mother is asking question to her son. That's again, yeah, Prabhupada writes about this. And thanked her within her questions, and thus his face smiling. And Krishna also smiles in Bhagavad Gita. When he says that Arjuna is actually surrendered and he understood his position, he can't, yeah, he has given up everything, can't do much. And he asked the question, I've surrendered. Karpanya dosho prata svabhava. Same thing here. So I feel that Bhagavatam and Gita keep repeating. That's why our relations keep repeating. But we still don't change. Correct? So his face smiling, he's smiling again. He explained the path of transcendentalists who are interested in self-realization. So who is interested in self-realization? If you're not interested in self-realization, then that's the first thing which should happen. We are all suffering because of material world. We all are suffering. Somebody may have money, somebody may not have money. That's one, two suffering. Somebody may have a health, somebody may not have health. Somebody is old, somebody is young. They all are suffering. That is the nature of material world. So if that suffering gives them, make them interested in self-realization, that's why Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness is for intelligent people. Fools deride me. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, fools and intelligent, they're opposite to each other. So that's where I wanted to quickly share this realization, this very important verse. After hearing of his mother's uncontaminated desire for transcendental realization, the Lord thanked her within himself. Oh, the Lord thanked her within himself for her question. That's very important. And thus, his face smiling. He explained the path of transcendentalists who are interested in self-realization. This is probably I have to ask again, that why Lord is thanking himself. Oh, Lord thanked her within himself. It's not expressively. Okay. So yeah, that's what the point. Now, the self-realization. Krishna Prabhu, I can continue. Is that okay? Yeah. So then now comes the self-realization. And in the same chapter, not in the same chapter, next chapter, when this discussion goes on, Lord Kapil is talking about what is knowledge and what is self-realization. This is a very, I like this verse very much, and I probably have referred this before also. Jnanam nihirshata sarthaya, jnanam nihishri shreya sarthaya, purushashyatma darsanam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jnanam nihirshat sarthaya, purusarthayatma darshanam, yada hura varnayetate, hridaya granthi bhedanam. Knowledge is the ultimate perfection of self-realization. That's in the previous verse, which we're discussing, is getting the interest into self-realization is important, and that's a starting point. And then once you get the realization, you get the knowledge. So without realization, knowledge will never happen. And if knowledge happens, knowledge will evaporate. So knowledge is the ultimate perfection of self-realization. I shall explain that knowledge unto you by which the knots of the attachment to the material world are cut. Hridaya Ghanti Bhedanam. So he's going to talk about that how to do this, which is I'm not going to talk it. I'm just trying to put it that self-realization and knowledge, they are interrelated. That's why the focus is how do we realize, how do we understand these things. And and how do you find a spiritual master? What do you understand? And where do we go? And what we do it? And how do you follow the regulated principle? All those things. So, and once you get this realization, then you are a knowledgeable person. Correct? So, and then what is knowledge? So Krishna is talking about what is knowledge. So self-realization to knowledge. And the thread is devotional service, which Amrish Babu keeps emphasizing that how much purity we have got into this is that's how much knowledge we get into this. Ye yathama prapadante. So that's a very famous verse. Again, we have discussed this many times. Those 18 characteristics of knowledge, that what knowledge are. So I'll quickly recite this verse also and then read the translation. Yeah, is that okay, Krishna Prabhu? अमानित्वम् अदाम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षन्तिर् आर्जवम् आचार्यो पाषाणं शौचं स्थैर्यम् आत्मविनिग्रह. So all those quality atmanivatam adabhitvam ahimsa kshanti arjavam, all those qualities I'm going to read translation also. Indriyartheshu vairagyam अहंकार एव च जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि दुखा दोषानुदर्शनम असक्तिर अनाभिस्वंगः पुत्रदार गृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टो पपातिषु. Next, yeah, Mai Chanya Yogena Bhaktir Avyabhicharini Vivikta Desha Sevitam Aratir Jana Samsadi Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam Tattva Jnatnartha Darshanam Etaj Jnanam Iti Proktam Ajnanam Yad Atho Anyatha. So these are Krishna's words. Chapter 13, verse 8 to 12. Krishna is telling Arjuna about what knowledge is and how to get there. And very interesting, we are reading a book, King of Knowledge, in our Saturday class. And that also we are talking about knowledge. Yeah? We are all very knowledgeable people. Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, and self-control. Renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, non-attachment to children, wife, home, and the rest, and even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, restoring to solitary places, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I thus declare to be knowledge, and what is contrary to this is ignorance. Black and white, no gray. There is no if, but, there is nothing like this is how it is. So all these qualities, Prabhupada writes, I'm not going to read purport, can be developed just by becoming a devotee. And depending upon our devotional surrender, this knowledge will come. This is what we are practicing. This is what we are trying to get by practicing those things, what I was discussing about this. And I remember this, we have discussed this before also. The last 2 points, accepting the importance of self-realization. That's it. That's it. Entire Bhagavatam, entire Bhagavad Gita, all those scriptures is on for self-realization. And philosophically search for the absolute truth. So don't surrender sentimentally. Like what we do, we try to read the book. Don't surrender your intelligence. That's our realization. That's we keep talking. So that researching is again Krishna's instruction coming through Bhagavatam and coming to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and coming through Kapil Maharaj. This same self-realization. So, and then Prabhupada writes a big purport and that he's explaining that how this humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, all those qualities automatically develop in a devotee. I think there is no innocence here. Innocence is a product of all these qualities. So, so by becoming a devotee, that's how we look at it ourselves, that how we are practicing this Krishna consciousness. Are we practicing Krishna consciousness in our own condition? This is how, if this is like this, I will do this. And that's why I spoke to someone. In fact, I upset a lot of people. Today also I upset someone, because when you tell these things, people get upset because it's something which probably they are not comfortable with. So for before closing this, and that's also part of realization which we have discussed before also, is the finding the fault in ourselves. प्रभु कृपा जब जानिए, जब दिखे अपना दोष, तो उसमें सबसे ऊपर मैं हूं। मुझको अपना दोष नहीं दिखता, आप सबको दिख रहा होगा। यू मस्ट बी लुकिंग एट माई फॉल्ट। देखो, प्रभु जी इज ट्राइंग टू शो हिज नॉलेज। सो प्रभु कृपा जब जानिए, जब दिखे अपना दोष, so that is the most difficult part. So for us to be able to realize that we are making mistakes, we are not able to practice Krishna consciousness, we are not able to do chanting, we are not able to practice this, we have no time. In fact, in our parent class, everybody was moving in the camera just before this. I said, unless you guys settle down, I'm not going to talk. And then some people got upset. I said, I'm talking about Damodar Ashtakam. I'm talking about going to tell you Bhagavatam, what Krishna says on what Sukadeva Goswami, and you're all moving. You can't even sit properly. So that's how I make people uncomfortable. And they get upset. And then they, whatever they say, that's all good on them, because they know this is the truth. So I thought I'll probably share my relation in a more different way. And hopefully I made sense to all of you and I've not offended anyone. Thank you very much. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gurudev ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Avinash Guru. Thank you very much. It's a very nice realization, Prabhu, as always. It's very refreshing to hear your realizations. There are a couple of points that you mentioned that I also was very interested in that translation where it's written that Kapila thanked the mother within himself. So what exactly does that mean? I was also thinking, and your entire realization, I felt, was also leading back to that point. If we have genuine desire to surrender to the Lord, we shouldn't surrender our intelligence, and all these things, to be interested in self-realization. Otherwise, we're constantly in suffering. We will never be free from suffering. This is some of the points you mentioned, and all of these things lead to that point about having uncontaminated desire. Yeah? So there's a very, very interesting points that were mentioned in the last few classes that I've not heard before either. And this one point that you also mentioned from the translation, it encompasses a lot of concepts that we're learning from, and that you also rightly touched on. So thank you, Prabhuji, for your very nice realizations. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you for engaging me, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for conducting this class on behalf of Ambesh Prabhu. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Mine is going to be a very short realization because I have a flight to catch after this. Um, so I'll just I was unable to attend the last two classes, so I just heard the classes on YouTube and made some quick notes. Um, so for me, one of the main highlights of the of both the classes was Prabhuji's emphasis on being independently thoughtful. Um, he emphasized a lot on this because Prabhuji mentioned that in Bhakti you have to take a lot of decisions, and it's easier to take the decisions in the beginning, but uh, as you keep growing in your Bhakti, in your capacity, the decisions get even more difficult. And when he said this, I was thinking that, even right now, I'm in the initial, very infant stages of my devotional service, and yet I find it so difficult to make decisions. And Prabhuji is saying that it's only going to get more difficult in the future. So it was quite a revelation for me in at that point. And he mentioned this five-step process of developing of being independently thoughtful. So first he said to study yourself. If you don't do that, then you'll have to find someone who can teach you. But doing that requires finding someone who you can trust enough to depend on for that knowledge. So best, he said, is to study yourself. The second was to memorize and recite, to remember what is being taught, not let it just stay a memory, or not let it uh, stay a dangling thought. The third is to research with the scriptures yourself, conduct thorough research, understand the matter subjectly. Fourth, the most important, he said, was to think about it, to meditate on what was being taught. Again, not to let it stay just a dangling memory or a dangling thought. And last was to preach. And in this, he mentioned that if you can't preach, then at least you should share your realizations, because it's very difficult to do that, which is why we're having this class, to share our realizations. And he said this, that it's important to share your own realizations, and not of course it's important to read Prabhupada's realization and everything, but it's important to share your own realizations. And I remember in the Vrindavan trip, I was thinking about this, that he said that uh, people who stay with him, they are special because it's not that we just come here and listen to his words, listen to lectures or read and then just go away. Prabhuji actually makes us think, he makes us speak, engage in these classes. So we can't just stay on the back seat and just listen and feel good about it and then go back home. It's difficult to engage. Even in Vrindavan, after every place we visited, Prabhuji would make us say, one word and one thought. And so he would say that for every place, you share one word for your one thought, which you experienced in that place. And it sounds such a simple thing to do, but all of us would take like 10 minutes, 5, 10 minutes to think about it, and then, give a rationale for why we picked this word. And it would be so difficult to do that. And I would always think that, it's it's because we have to be independently thoughtful in that way, that we have to have our own thoughts and opinions. Because the masses, when it comes to spirituality, we can say that you just come to some satsang or some bhashan, and where like one person is just speaking and you just listen and you feel good about it and then you go back home. But here it's about thinking, it's about actually having your own realizations. And Prabhuji also said that bhakti is a lot about making decisions. And he said this one line, that you need practical knowledge to make practical decisions in this material life. And the basis for that practical knowledge has to be the scriptures, and has to be Prabhupada's books. And the knowledge you can get from anywhere, but the thinking nobody can do for you. You cannot get knowledge from reading your own, you can get it from someone else, even if it's a trusted source, but nobody can do the thinking for you. And it's really the most relevant thing for me, because you've been reading everything, so many things the same time, everything says the same thing, but I don't sit down to think and meditate on it. And Prabhuji mentioned that that's the most important part of all, because everything up till now anyone can do, but thinking nobody can do for you. And this one thing also he mentioned, that we visited, I think, Sanatan Goswami's, uh, what is it called? His I'm forgetting the name, like the word samadhi. Yes, sorry.
Samadhi,
We visit, sorry. Apologies, Prabhuji. So the last day we went, and when we entered, Prabhuji said just one thing, that observe what I'm doing. And later on, when we were discussing this, he said that the most intelligent people are the ones who learn by observing. Uh, who can not everything needs to be explicitly said, and not everything needs to be uh, explicitly told or instructed in a way. And in that sense, we have to be independently thoughtful as well, that we observe the devotees, the senior devotees, their demeanor, their behavior, and how they conduct themselves, and observe and learn through that as well is something that I was also uh, thinking a lot about. Um, and just a second, Rosie. Yes. So I think that was all the thoughts that I had regarding being independently thoughtful. The second thing that, of course, everyone has touched upon is innocence in bhakti. Um, Prabhuji mentioned in the initial uh, phase of the class, just in the beginning itself, that how innocent a child is. That's how innocent we need to be in our bhakti, and uh, because it's the language of love for Krishna. That's the language that we need to speak. And he mentioned a very interesting point, that it's not that you can be innocent just like that. You cannot that you're just naturally innocent, because in that way you will be cheated in the material world. I thought that was a very interesting point that he mentioned, that if you're just innocent without thinking about it, then you will definitely be cheated. So you have to have the knowledge from the scriptures, and then you have to voluntarily decide to give up your shrewdness, and then you can be innocent. That's again bringing that same point, that you have to be thoughtful about being innocent, not just that you're innocent like that. Otherwise, you will be cheated everywhere. That's I found that point very, very interesting. Um, because how to be, with all the shrewdness that we have already, all the experiences and all the cleverness, so to speak, that we have from this material world, that we have to carry, how to give up all of that and stay innocent in bhakti. That's a very complicated thing, I think, which is probably why it's not for me, because bhakti is very simple. But I think it's that was a very clever point. And he also said that I think Avinash Prabhu asked this question, that how to be independently thoughtful and yet dependent on someone, uh, which was to which he said that, you decide independently to become dependent on someone. Just like we have, we see credibility, and we see so much positivity and so many things, that so much time we've spent here, and now that we've thoughtfully decided that this is the shelter that I want to take. Um, I should be fully committed to it, and without any, distractions, and without any second thoughts or excuses, follow it as properly as I can, as I'm capable of. Um, so yeah, I think that's all for my realization. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for sharing your realization, even though you have a flight to catch. Yeah, there's some important points that were mentioned again. And the overarching thing about being independently thoughtful. And every decision that you make, micro, macro, in this in Christian consciousness and devotional service, gets harder as you progress. But then again, Krishna is testing you. And we often say in preaching that when things get tough, that's when you know that Krishna is actually keeping an eye on you. Krishna is interested in what you're doing. So we take it as a good thing. So it's important to change ourselves. Another point you mentioned about childlike innocence, and how Krishna will not cheat you, but the world will cheat you. So we have to also be independently thoughtful. But when it comes to our relationship with Lord Krishna, it has to be innocent, which is what we're all working towards. But it's very easy to say and very hard to implement, which is why we take shelter in the words of the acharyas, words of Srila Gurudev, words of Srila Prabhupada, and this is why we spent a long time on these lecture series about Bhakti Yoga, and particularly about the teachings of Lord Kapila Muni. So thank you, Mataji, for your very nice revelations. And we hope you have a safe flight. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhuji, for organizing this program today on behalf of Amrish Prabhuji. And thank you to Amrish Prabhuji, Punpragya Mataji, and to you, Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhuji, for giving us the opportunity and organizing these programs for benefit of us all. This as we are studying teachings of Lord Kapila, and this process of yoga, which Bhakti Yoga, which is the ultimate of everything, all the yogas, it's the ultimate. We know that this Bhakti is the ultimate and is the treasured process as well. So why is that? Because the ultimate of our life for the human beings is that we don't come back in this material world again to suffer, as we know that we are suffering here. And because this material world is full of dualities, and that's why we are suffering here. Sometimes we don't realize that suffering is there, but we are suffering. Ultimately, we realize it one day or another. The other thing is that there are lots and lots of different processes of bhakti, but the process, the bhakti process, which we are following as rasikas, is, I think it's the beautiful word, beautiful, and those lucky people, those fortunate people who have just visited Vrindavan in the month of Kartik, they have tasted the nectar there. And while talking to them, we had very brief conversation with the devotees, but the treasured bhakti, which is I held in my heart. Whenever I talk to them, I just go there, and all the places in Vrindavan, they just get live in my mind. So that is the bhakti. So we understand that Krishna only understands the language of love, and for that love we are hankering in this material world. The whole life we are trying to practice so that we can go back to Godhead and find that pure love of God. Srila Prabhupada, in this chapter 8, in Lord Kapila's instructions, here says one of the Yeah. So one of the verses here he has mentioned here is that Atah Shri Krishna Namadina Bhavet Grayam Indriyai Sevan Mukhe Hi Jihvadau Swayam Eva Spurati Adah. It is stated in the Shastras that it is not possible to appreciate or understand Krishna with our blunt material senses. Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes, paraphernalia, and abode are all part and parcel of Krishna. However, understanding Krishna begins with hearing and chanting his name. Then there is his form. So, without Krishna's name, to chant Krishna's name purely, we have to be very innocent. And that innocence, we have seen that when we even say that his smile is like innocent child. So he smiles like an innocent child. So their child is very innocent. And then we have to be like that. And if we are innocent like that, then we can chant purely. And that chanting Krishna hears. So for that innocence, we are trying all our life. Because material contamination is always there. We are living in material world, and material world is always constantly attacking us. So how do we keep ourselves pure? It's just the name of Krishna which keeps us always focused, and it can purify us. Krishna's mercy is always there. He is Paramatma sitting in our heart and guiding us. He is, as Prabhuji in the class, he mentioned that Krishna is the innocent, very innocent, and because of his innocence, he is always there with us, guiding us, sitting in our heart. So that relationship with Krishna, we can just revive when we are very innocent with him, very, very true to ourselves. We cannot, otherwise, if we are just showing off everything, Krishna is not looking at us. Our face will be always in different directions. So to have to face to Krishna, we have to we have to just call for him, just like a child calls for his mother. So as we also, I think in the class we discussed that we cannot change the principles of the dharma. Dharma is the ultimate, but we cannot change it. It's just the little bit adjustment our pure devotees can do, just for the sake of our benefit. Srila Prabhupada has, before it was like 64 rounds we used to chant, but just because in this Kali Yuga we cannot do that. And that's why Srila Prabhupada has given us 16 rounds minimum to chant, so that we can revive our relationship with Krishna and get the purity of it. So all those beautiful relationships with Krishna, we have to find out, we have to revive, so that we get the ultimate benefit from it. So yes, Prabhuji, that is my realization for this class. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Saraswati Mataji, thank you very much for a very nice realization. Some very nice points you mentioned, Mataji. One point in particular, but you said that hearing and chanting is very, very important. And in the purport that we studied the last 2 weeks, as you have also touched on, and you also read that the Shravanam is very, very important. And if we develop the bhajan kriya through Shravanam, through hearing, then the glories of the Lord, of discussing like we do in these classes, and doing our own independent study, then anathas, or whatever things that are holding us back, they begin to get finished, or in fact they finish if we're sincere. And you also mentioned the childlike innocence that we should have, but also that Krishna has, Lord Krishna has that innocence, as we see in his pastimes in Vrindavan with the gopis, and with Krishna being present everywhere. And in fact, when we think of it like that, it feels very simple. The process feels very simple, but as we know, it's a tough hill to climb. But thank you, Mataji. Those are some very nice points that you mentioned. I see that we have Shidapu and Namanta Mataji here. I know they're a bit busy at the moment, but if they are not, if it's possible, we would love to hear your realizations. Otherwise, I'll wait for about 20 to 30 seconds. So yes, please, if you can, that'd be great to hear your realizations. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sorry, because we missed couple of last sessions, and I think I didn't really prepare for any realizations, so just listening today. My apologies.
No problem, Roger. We understand. Nice to see you. Nice to see you back in Nissan.
Thank
So, yeah, no problem. So in that case, then I think everyone has shared their realizations. So we can conclude the class today, and we'll just finish with Maharaj please us. So, whose turn is it today to sing Maharaj please us?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I think it's Subhadra's turn, but they're not available here. Prabhuji is with their mother. Is traveling.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Is Navina Mataji there? She's available?
Yes. I think
Okay.
she's coming in a minute.
Okay, no problem. If she can do it, that'd be great. Otherwise, if not, I can do it as well. It's no problem.
Okay. You do it.
I can start.
Yes.
Maharaj, please hear us.
Maharaj, please hear us.
We have learned some real good stuff.
We have learned some real good stuff.
Maharaj, we have learned one thing.
Maharaj, we have learned one thing.
And today for you we will sing.
Today for you we will sing.
If our room is clean,
If our room is clean,
then our mind is clean.
then our mind is clean.
If our mind is clean,
If our mind is clean,
we can do anything.
we can do anything.
If our room is dirty,
If our room is dirty,
then so are we.
then so are we.
And if we are dirty,
And we are dirty,
we're not happy.
not happy.
Wasting time
Wasting time
is the greatest crime.
is the greatest crime.
Because wasted time
Because wasted time
means a wasted mind.
is a wasted mind.
So best use your time
So best is your time
when you're in your prime.
when you're in your prime,
And your whole life
and your whole life
will be sublime.
will be sublime.
If your wealth is gone,
If your wealth is gone,
then there's nothing wrong.
then is nothing wrong.
But if your health is gone,
If your health is gone,
that's a different song.
that's a different song.
But if your character dies,
If your character dies,
then the world will cry.
then the world will cry.
Only saintly behavior
Only saintly behavior
lets humanity thrive.
lets humanity thrive.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
We must always remember Krishna
We must always remember Krishna
and never forget him too.
and never forget him too.
But how are we to practice this with so many things to do?
How are we to practice this with so many things to do?
That is the greatest question.
That is the greatest question.
And here is the greatest clue.
And here is the greatest clue.
You must learn to work so nicely that Krishna remembers you.
We must learn to work so nicely that Krishna remembers you.
So listen very closely
So listen very closely
and make your thinking sharp.
and make your thinking sharp.
Let's learn how we can live and work so Krishna won't depart.
Let's learn how we can live and work so Krishna won't depart.
If something's due tomorrow,
If something's due tomorrow,
finish it today.
finish it today.
And whatever's due today,
And what is due today,
do it now, don't delay.
do it now, don't delay.
If your friends might be
If
lazy
your friends might be lazy
or doing bad things,
or doing bad things,
you think again,
you think again,
don't follow them,
don't follow them,
and you will win in the end.
and you will win in the end.
Whatever work we're given,
Whatever work we given,
we do our very best.
we do our very best.
We only live with what we need and give Krishna the rest.
We only live with what we need and give Krishna the rest.
This is how to live, to work and to play. If you learn to live this way, we'll see Krishna every day.
This is how to live, to work and to play. Learn to live this way, we'll see Krishna every day.
And when our time is up, he'll take us up above. We sing and dance with him with our hearts full of love.
And when our time is up, he'll take us up above. We'll sing and dance with him with a heart full of love.
So chant Krishna's names, his glories and his fame is the only way this world will ever become sane.
So chant Krishna's names, his glories and his fame. It's the only way this world will ever become sane.
Now please ask this greatest question
Now please ask this greatest question
and find this greatest clue.
and find this greatest clue.
You can only remember Krishna
You can only remember Krishna
if Krishna remembers you.
if Krishna remembers you.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai His Holiness Sri Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaurapanandi Hari Hari Bol. Shri Kartik Maharaj ki Jai. Nam Vishnu Vaksham Sam Shri Vishnu Sam Nam Vishnu Vaksham Sam Vishnu Vishnu Sam Vishnu Sam Vishnu Sam So Hare Krishna, thank you, dear devotees, very much for your very nice realizations. It was very nectarian to hear everyone. And so we will see you next week, same place, same time, as my father says. So chant for Hare Krishna, be happy, and we'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay.